you ever heard of the recovery cycle of recovery?
Yes.
Do you know what that is?
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay. So cycle of recovery is basically do a thing, get injured, get treatment, feel better, stop treatment, do the thing, get injured. And the reason that repeats is because they stopped doing the thing that got them healthier without making any sort of lifestyle changes. So they go to someone like us. We facilitate their healing. We get them feeling better. They feel better, but they've only felt better because we did stuff.
I'm fighting the ocean if I'm the only change that you're making.
So what would be the one change, if you guys can make an implement change to your guys' industry to get people to truly invest in their health now instead of later, was the one change or one thing that you guys want out there?
We need to flip the mindset from
I'm Brandon Johnson.
I'm Tyler Reckla, and this is the Synergy Code Podcast. So today we're going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and it is investing in your health.
Yep, in your health.
And what I mean by that is investing into your physical health. So obviously doing what I do, being a massage therapist, it's one thing I like to relay to clients. It's very important to invest into your health now while you can before you're forced to. So think of it as like if you have your vehicle, right, and you care about your vehicle, what do?
Get oil changes and maintenance and all
Right?
that stuff. Yeah.
Right? You get your oil changes, you take care of it before problems happen, because when problems happen, it's much more expensive, right? Same thing when we're talking about your physical health, right? So taking care of your health as in, getting the massages, going to the gym, working with a personal trainer, just all of that stuff adds up over time. And yes, it costs more time and money now because, you're putting in that $100 or $150 to do a visit, chiropractic visit, but you're less likely to have those chronic issues when you get older.
My thing is when you think of investing in yourself and your health, the one thing that stops people from going is their motivation.
Yes.
I love going to the gym if I have somebody to go to the gym with, to push me to push that extra weight, get on that treadmill for the extra 5 minutes or all that. If I don't have anybody that wants to go to gym with me or at the same time, then I'm more motivated to be like, hey, that cheeseburger looks delicious.
Sure. And it's that short-term gratification, right?
Right.
Versus the long-term gratification. So it's, you put in the like, same thing. What do you ever go and get massages? Do you ever go and get like self-care like that?
Nope.
Yeah.
I haven't got one yet. And
It's going to happen.
I take that back. I have had a massage. It was in Afghanistan. It was when I was on my way out.
We won't talk about that one.
Well, true, because we're recording. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about people rubbing on me. I don't know. I don't think I understand the full concept and the benefit of a massage.
So what about something like a chiropractic visit?
I've never been to a chiropractor.
You haven't.
Mm-mm.
So what about when you do yoga? You go to hot yoga, right?
Yep.
You go to Y6 over
Y6
in Nampa.
off of Garrity.
Why?
Because that's a good question. I go with my wife because we like to, one, it's 108 degrees. You sweat it out, get a community, but it allows us to stretch and it helps us find our inner peace, our Zen. And
how does it make you feel after going to yoga?
Absolutely sucks because I'm sweating, but I'm also the only guy wearing 3 layers of shirts and everyone asks me why.
But you feel better afterwards, right?
I do.
You move better.
Yeah.
You feel better. That adds up over time. Imagine if you didn't do any of that stuff and you were just completely sedentary, right? You didn't do anything. You didn't exercise. You didn't eat healthy. You didn't drink water. You didn't stay hydrated. You didn't do the things that are, for your self-care. Imagine how that adds up over the time. Just like we talked about with the vehicle, if you don't get the oil changes, you don't get the new tires, you don't get your alignment checked, whatever it is, how does that add up over time?
So from your perspective, what stops people from getting a massage or a chiropractor or going to the gym?
Good question. So what I think a lot of the times is it's the investment now. Okay. It's the money it costs now, right? Because none of that stuff is necessarily cheap. Like you go to get a massage, you get a good massage, it's $100+ an hour.
Okay.
Right. You go get, you hire a personal trainer, you're $50 to $100 an hour. That adds up. And a lot of times that's out of pocket of expenses, right? But what people don't look at is when they do that stuff, the massages, the personal training, is that you're buying back time, right? You're buying back feeling better, moving better, the time spent with friends and family, your kids, whatever it is. If your daughter wants to go outside and play in the playground, your son wants to go to the park and play catch, and you don't feel good because your back hurts, right? What would you do to buy back that time? You do anything to buy that time
Absolutely.
back, right? So is it worth the $100 to spend now, or do you want to wait till you have to go and get that back surgery?
I think spending $100 now would make the most sense, but it's that instant gratification, right? It's if you invest in the time and the money to go and do something and you realize that, well, I don't look skinnier. I don't really feel top notch. Is this really worth my time? And it goes into the mindset of like, there's two types of people who are chipping away at your success, physical success, right? And 9 times out of 10, that's why we got National Quitters Day, is you're right there to start the habit, to make it second nature, and you give up. But all you need is one more swack of the axe, and you're going to hit all the gems, all the benefits of all that.
Which is like we talked about last time. That's where that motivation versus discipline comes into. It's easy to get motivated. It's easy to have someone like yourself motivate the hell out of me. But then if you can't instill the discipline or have someone instill the discipline in themselves, they don't keep going.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep. That's why I 100% agree with you that spending more time and money on your inner physical health will have long range benefit for
sure.
you and for your family and your legacy of what you want to leave behind.
Right. Okay. So we were talking the other day and you had brought up an episode on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh yeah. Dave Smith and Dave Murray or something.
Yeah.
The British guy.
Was it Mick Murray or is it just Murray?
No, it's just Murray.
Just
I think
Dave
it's
Murray?
just Murray. Dave Murray. I don't know. He's British.
He's the British one, right?
Yeah.
So I
completely
watched,
condescending.
Yeah. So a little bit of background. He told me to watch this episode and I threw it up. I was watching the YouTube and I probably watched, I don't think I quite watched 30 minutes of it. I had to turn it off.
Yeah.
That dude drove me insane.
Very contradictory.
The way he talked
condescending.
Yeah, he was talking down. He was talking down about people that weren't even there.
So technically, to Dave Murray's standard, me and you, since we're not experts and we've never been to every physical experience and event and every mindset convention, we technically, per his standards, can't talk.
And even further, like by his standards, even though I've been a massage therapist for 6 years now, I'm still not an expert because I didn't come up with these techniques or modalities. I didn't invent this stuff. Like that's who's an expert according to him. Like you have to have been there, developed it, done the curriculum, whatever. Like you were the one that invented this stuff. Otherwise, you're not an expert.
Well, and the thing that really got me was when Dave Smith and him were talking about the Israel and the Gaza stuff. And Dave Smith simply asked him, Dave Murray asked Dave Smith, well, have you ever been to Israel? And Dave Smith was like, no, but I have extensive research and I talked to experts and all that. And he's like, well, if you've never even been there, how can you talk about it? So Dave Smith pushed back and was like, well, have you ever been to Nazi Germany? He's like, well, I can't time travel, but I can read a book. And it's like, come on, man.
Isn't that the same concept?
Yeah, it's the same exact concept.
There, you can't talk about it.
Completely condescending. I enjoyed it because one, Joe Rogan did a good job of allowing both of them to speak, but also checking Dave Murray and be like, hey, let him talk. And what you're saying is basically no one can have a fact if it doesn't meet your standard, and nobody knows your standard because you're flip-flopping on your standard.
I think for my money, I think Joe Rogan is the best moderator ever.
Oh yeah. I truly hope in the next election.
I thought he was going to do the last one.
He is one of the moderators. I think we should get rid of the liberal media, the major media people, CNN, ABC. I think we should not have them moderate. And Joe Rogan, Dave Smith, and then a couple of left folks.
So I've told you about the All In Pod that I listen to.
Yeah.
As much as he drives me nuts, Jason Calacanis on there is a great moderator. Oh, yeah. His views are stupid, but he's a great moderator. I think he does a really good job. He really brings the energy. He controls the conversation, much like Joe Rogan, right? Joe Rogan is just like the chillest dude on earth, right? Yeah. Super chill. J Cal, he's got the energy. He asks really hard questions, keeps the conversation going. He's a good moderator, keeps the party going.
Yeah. And I think that the reason why Joe Rogan is so popular in the podcast realm and just in the information realm isn't because he's like telling us we need to believe this. And if we don't believe what he believes, we're completely weird. It's, you really get the sense that he's genuinely interested
He's curious.
in the conversations
He
of
is
which he has.
a curious creature.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
why I thought it was awesome. Like, I'm not a Bernie Sanders fan, but I thought it was pretty cool that he had Bernie Sanders on a couple
totally,
years ago.
Yeah.
And then Elon Musk. And
Yeah.
then I'm glad Donald Trump got on there. I kind of wish Kamala Harris would have gone on there just to see the aspect.
Wasn't JD Vance was on there
JD
too.
Vance was
Yeah.
on there. Have you ever watched his movie, Hillbilly Eulogy?
I didn't know he had a movie.
Amazing.
Is
It
it?
is a good one.
Because he grew up in the Appalachians, right?
Yeah. Great movie. And it's kind of like, holy crap, that is like the American like spirit, because he came from a broken home. His mom had a drug addiction and he lived with his his grandma, and he had a rough upbringing, but now look at him. He joined the Marine Corps. He served his time 4 years, and then he went to law school. He met his wife, Usha, and now he's the second man in charge of the powerful nation in the world.
Most powerful nation in the world.
And it's absolutely awesome.
It's super cool. It's kind of like living the American dream.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you look at me and you, it's like, meh, we are what we are, and we're sitting here today.
We're striving for that American dream. We're getting there, right?
Slowly but surely.
Yeah. Doing our part, just like last Saturday when we were at the gala.
Yeah,
right? Doing
for the BNI.
Our networking part. Yeah.
Business Networking International.
Is that what that stands for?
That is what BNI stands for.
So I have been asked, I don't know how many times. I just assumed that's what it stood for, but now I know.
Now you know.
I'm
no, BNI is
the more you know.
is one of the many networking groups that are available for small businesses and people that like to network. It's not the only one, but it is one of the largest, and it's global, and it's awesome.
So I have a really cool quick story about that. So my office in Eagle, the guy that owns that spot, he had a intern that worked for him. His name was Logan. Logan was a chiropractor. He does like functional movement, functional range training and stuff like that. And he was opening his own clinic after he was done with his internship down in Loveland, Colorado. And I mentioned to him, I said, one of the first things you need to do when you get down there is look for a BNI group near you. It'll be money, be gold, right?
Yeah.
And I invited to our chapter. Unfortunately, he got sick, like had the cold before he was able to come. So he left and everything. And yesterday he sends me a picture that he submitted an application
That's awesome.
for a BNI chapter down there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been in BNI?
Just what, a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, just over a year.
So you joined a week after me. Yeah.
No, a week before.
A week before me.
Yeah.
So we've been in BNI about the same amount of time. And networking is the same. If you want to succeed, you have to put in the work.
For sure.
And BNI has shown me that you're not restricted to one of your core groups of people that you become comfortable with. And that falls into like last episode where we talked about comfort is the worst addiction a man can have. BNI is really available, and networking groups are available for you to truly gain your knowledge by getting different perspectives from other business owners.
What I think is really cool and unique about BNI and what we do there is that because, especially for me and people in my field that are more scientific, right? That like data, CPAs, stuff like that as well, is that we track data. We track numbers. People like that. There's accountability. Like you're expected to show up. You're expected to put in the work. And if you don't, it won't work for you. Yep. And you won't be expected to stick around.
And you notice that when it doesn't work for people, it falls into the realm of fixing the problem, fixing the blame, not the problem.
Yes.
And what they do is they fix the blame and say the system is broke. Yep. Well, it's not broke, because the Power of One is a very powerful tool. And I've seen it firsthand because I travel to Salt Lake monthly to go and consult and coach a couple of those businesses over there. And I travel and I visit those BNIs.
Yeah,
and it's different, but it's the same in the aspect of it's the giver's gain. It's the Power of One is still important. You got to have one referral, one meeting, one-on-one a week in order to really get your name out there. Because just like we're doing this podcast to connect with you guys, it's the power of getting to know, like, and trust is how you're going to build up that referral network.
Know me, like me, trust me.
Yeah.
Yep. And so back to the gala, I thought it was really cool. So we actually won chapter of the year for our region, for the Southern Idaho region, which was really cool. I thought that was really neat how it has kind of turned around since kind of about the time me and you came into the chapter, right? So I get that a lot. Like when I visit other chapters or talk to people from other chapters, they've always heard about you and I.
That's awesome.
It's actually pretty cool.
That's
like
awesome.
they hear about like how we've turned the chapter around,
Yeah.
not just us obviously, but the people that are in the chapter.
Oh yeah.
And they hear about like mine and your kind of banter back and forth and everything, and
Well, I think
people
if you're
enjoy
not
it.
having
It's a
fun-
good time.
Yeah, if you're not having
Yeah.
fun when you're networking every single week,
Yeah.
it's going to get mundane and people aren't going to want to join.
Well, just like at the gala, like
Yeah.
when it came down with time to close,
Yeah.
Us and a couple others from our chapter, we were the only people pretty much left in the entire conference
Absolutely.
room, right?
No, absolutely.
Like we shut that place down.
No, it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. I think Jeremy Miller, the executive director of BNI, did an amazing job, and the team around him did an amazing job for the first annual.
I think
I'm
it was
looking
great.
forward to the
There's
next one.
definitely room for improvement,
Yep.
for sure. But I do think it was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I would maybe prefer to see a different venue,
Yep.
but I thought it was really good for.
Or just ramp up the venue, I guess, and go more with the theme and stuff. And
yeah,
it'll be
something.
interesting. I think the theme nights are fun because it gets us out to let us.
Well, and I like the
head
having
down.
the black tie part
Yeah.
too, dressing up. I mean, that's probably I could probably count on one hand how many times I've worn an actual tie.
Yeah.
And that was one of them.
Yeah. No,
So-
I enjoy wearing ties.
And I
think
thought
it's
I
nice.
looked pretty snazzy
Yeah,
too.
well, you
just so
looked
know.
all right. No, it's good to see. But I thought it was awesome because I one of the things with me being known as the high energy guy, I got called out in front to
Yeah.
get everyone to stand on our feet and give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair, and I was like, "Hot damn, that's
Well,
awesome!
not-
So much fun."
Not everyone was happy
Well,
about
we
that.
won't talk about that. So the gala was amazing. It was a good experience for everyone involved, and I look forward to like building upon that and like sharing people's point of views and all that great fun stuff, and knowing that this podcast is releasing and gonna be a vehicle for other people to get
Yeah,
on here to
yeah.
chit chat and kind of give their perspective. And what's also awesome is that new show from Netflix. I think
Did you start watching
America Primeval.
American Primeval? How far in are you?
I'm episode 4.
That's it. Okay. I think there's 8 episodes. So what
Yeah.
was the last thing you've seen?
The governor of the Utah Territory, so Brigham Young,
Yeah.
is trying to hide the tracks that he sent those people out to kill
For that
those-
massacre.
Yes,
Yeah.
for the massacre,
You know what's
which is an actual event.
So what's really cool about this? So my wife is very much into history. She loves museums, stuff like that. Anything historical, she nerds out about. Right. One night we were laying there after watching an episode. We watch like an episode or so every night or so, and we were sitting there, and she starts like giggling. She got this big grin on her face, like, "What are you doing? What are you looking at?" She had looked up the history from that show, and all the characters in that show, aside from I think the main story, the Sarah girl, that story,
Yeah.
all of that's historically accurate. Even the guy that got scalped during the,
Whew, Jacob,
he's a real person.
That's crazy.
That person existed. His wife existed. Like she was legitimately kidnapped by
Amish or Amish, Ambush,
yeah,
Ambush,
yeah,
something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Crazy
Those
thing,
people were real.
crazy thing is every time I get into those type of episodes, like I got into like the Yellowstone series, Yellowstone 1923,
Mhm.
1883. I found myself wondering, what would we do in those situations? If we were back in those times,
Okay, I got a
how
question for you.
would we react?
So Fort Bridger.
Okay.
If you were there when all that was going down, like what would you do?
do I know what I know now?
What do you mean?
Do I know how the episode goes? Like what happens?
No.
Oh.
You're just in the moment.
Well, in the moment, being raised in that time period, I'd probably stand up and fight.
Yeah.
And do what I can to protect mine and protect those around me. I definitely wouldn't run.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating too. I always think about that stuff. Like, what would I do, and do I believe that I would actually do that thing in that moment?
Well, I think you would. I think it's a human nature, and it's been around forever. That do we fight or do we flight? Right?
Fight
Do
or
we-
flight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's it goes into you don't, in a time of stressful situations, you don't rise to your expectations. You rise to what you're trained at, what you practice for, what you have thought about.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people like in my realm of experience of military is we're trained to constantly think, okay, well, where's the exit?
Right.
How do I respond if someone comes in here and threatens my family or threatens people around me? How do I respond? Because these people I think are going to run, these people I think are going to fight, and we're going to go forward.
So do you still, like, if you walk into a room that has a bunch of people in it that you've never been, do you still do that? Do you kind of survey the landscape?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, lay of the
Survey the
land.
landscape, look at people's waistbands, see if anyone's
Yeah.
carrying.
So I don't know if you
that.
know this, but I did security for like 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And I bounced for like 4 years before that
Okay.
too. It's some pretty risky places, right?
Yeah.
I still do the same thing. If I walk into a room with a bunch of people, especially people I don't know, in a place I don't know, I'm looking for every possible exit.
Oh, yeah.
I look at people's mannerisms.
Yep.
I can go in a room with 100 people and tell you that person's going to be a problem or that person's going to be a problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just experience and
Yeah.
knowing that life sucks and life is not fair.
But you're always going to have those people.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and if you're not having your head on a swivel, then you're at a disadvantage.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I think just being human nature, being a man in the situation, I think that's like one of our things that we're wired to do is always keep our head on a swivel because we are protectors. We want to protect those around us. Even if we're in a room with a bunch of other guys, everyone's looking at how we can protect everyone the best way.
Speaking of bad guys, let's talk about that prison is it El Salvador?
El Salvador. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sitkot or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hilarious one. Last time I checked, the guy's not an American citizen. So why?
So what guy? So talk about that. What guy are you talking about?
Kilgore Garcia?
And he's from
Kilmore?
Maryland, right?
No, he's from El Salvador.
Oh, I thought he was from Maryland.
No, he illegally immigrated here. I don't know when. I haven't seen the year that he immigrated here, but he illegally came. He has a bunch of deport orders. Like he was told to deport to go back to El Salvador. Then he claimed that he can't go to El Salvador because of a rival gang. And then because he's MS-13, he's a gang affiliated, which has been determined as a terrorist organization by the government. And then they kicked him to El Salvador into the prison. And some Senator Von Hollen from Maryland is like, hey, I want to go to and get him, and he deserves. I'm going to speak to him. He's my constituent. No, he's not an American citizen. And then at the same time, you have the lady who was killed by an illegal immigrant. I think she was like 36 or 30. She was in her 30s, I think. But she has 5 kids, and she was brutally murdered. And
that was New York or something, right?
No, it was in Maryland.
It was in Maryland?
Yeah, because it's one of his constituents, and he didn't show any care for that.
Wow.
And she was killed by an illegal immigrant, not that guy, but killed by an illegal immigrant. And then what's funny is they just came out with information about him. And I guess in 2021, he got a restraining order, or his wife got a restraining order against him. And he's a abuser of his wife. And he has like MS-13 tatted on his knuckles.
Of course.
But the Democrats on the left are like, he's good.
Do you know how many people they've deported to that prison yet?
No, I've heard like different numbers. Couple 100,000, couple hundred.
Have you seen clips of
that prison?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is nightmare fuel.
You do the crime, you do the time.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
And when you're
not something to mess
when
around with.
When you are designated as a terrorist organization because you terrorized the American citizens, you deserve to go where you deserve to go.
Yep.
I give 100%. I would love to meet the president of El Salvador, Bukele, and just tell him, hell yeah, keep doing you, boo, because this is awesome. Yes. This is the kind of sport we need. I think 100%.
Yeah. Kind of like the support, Bernie Sanders and AOC got at that convention the other night on Monday.
Yeah, I heard about it, but I didn't hear much more of it.
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard. So the Idaho Center was at capacity.
Oh wow,
which is 12,500, right?
In Idaho?
In Idaho.
Weird.
And it was I don't remember the topic of it, but basically they were talking about how billionaires are bad and they're screwing up the nation. Also talk about Elon and Trump, right? And then I have a client of mine he's an Nampa PD, and he was telling me that when he was there, or the other Nampa PD they were there, that majority of the people there were from Oregon and Washington.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of like that Tesla.
Almost all the plates were Oregon and Washington plates.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I wonder, what do you think? So I wonder are these people just voluntarily following the rally, or are they having these, like, paying these people to come in?
I think a little bit of both.
Pumping them in.
I think there's a little bit of both. I saw an X comment or post, I guess you can say. Somebody found the company that pays people to protest.
Really?
But then the CEO of that company's defense was, we're not paying people to protest. We're just giving people a wage to promote their activism. So we're promoting people to be activists against
protest.
Yeah, that's the definition of protest.
Yeah.
He thinks we're idiots. But I was like, so you're admitting that you pay people? He's like, well, yeah, just like people pay, like you get paid to be on a TV show. we're doing the same. And then the guy was like, yeah, but I don't pay people to view me. I don't pay people to watch me.
No.
So, and I don't give people talking points. I don't pull up U-Hauls full of signs that are probably misspelled and bricks to start chaos. So all in all, it's just kind of weird.
Well, I would imagine too, though, it happens on both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're protesting, it's I don't know. It's just, that's a whole nother thing I don't understand.
There's a different ways protesting though. And you've seen it for the last 4 or 5 years
well, going back even towards, was that 2020 when we had the George Floyd riots, right? Same thing, that kind of protesting.
Well, and it's one side completely loses their marbles and they destroy their own community. And then the other side they just yell and they protest. And there was that one when they did the one protest for government or something. It was the right wing protest. They cleaned up the streets better than it was when they got there.
Yeah.
And it's just weird on the mindset on that aspect.
Yeah. Even at the AOC thing and Bernie thing this last week, there was a bunch of like Free Palestine stuff going on inside, like even during their whole spiel up there. I was seeing clips of that and everything.
Cool. You can go ahead and root for that, but I'm pretty sure there's an awakening and people are starting to see one with the success of Doge, one of the success of like the most transparency administration in the history of our country. We just looked up before we started rolling. There's a comment from the White House that says, do not click on covid.gov.
It has all
it's the lab leak.
The COVID files, yeah.
And it shows the maps. It shows about Fauci's pardon and it shows all the in-depth information. And typically you don't get that stuff. It's just awesome.
Well, it's nice to see the counter to it too, because that was Monday.
Yep.
And then on Tuesday, the very next day, Charlie Kirk, do you know who that is?
Mm-hmm.
So Charlie Kirk was at BSU, which I would have loved to been a fly on the wall for that one, right?
Yeah, he's awesome.
And it's kind of funny because you'll see people who are opposed to it saying, well, he's debating, kids that are just college kids, which yes, he is. And he's not very old. I think he's only like 28, 29.
No,
right?
I think he's 30s.
Is he 30?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's still, he's not like he's this old guy or whatever, but he's debating their 18-year-old kids.
Well, he says the best.
They're registered voters.
Yeah, he says, I'm not debating kids, I'm debating voters.
Right.
That's what's important.
Their vote counts just as much as your or my vote does.
Well,
right?
Wait a minute. Are you calling me old?
I mean, I'm not calling you young.
Well, I definitely am not old. Jeez.
But I think it'd been really cool to see. I like watching his stuff. He speaks very well.
Yeah.
He's very punctual and everything.
And he's not afraid to debate, even though people are like, you won't debate me. Well, no, he'll debate you, but you fail to listen because your first reaction to defending your talking points is to call names to the other side. And when you call names to the other side or when you cuss to the other side, you've already lost the argument because you
let your emotions get in front of you. Yeah.
And he does very well at facts, not emotions. And those facts in the end are going to win. The facts over feelings 100% of the time.
You see that a lot now though with anything. And again, I would like to see it on both sides, but you really see it on the liberal side where when it comes to debates, their way of debating, and I guess Trump kind of did the same thing back during his first term, but their way of debating was like they're going to yell and scream and cuss at you, right? Where on the other side, you have the Charlie Kirks, you have the Jordan Petersons, you have the Ben Shapiro, even though I can't stand his voice. Those guys they're just very cool, calm, and collected. They debate with facts, not feelings.
Yeah.
And I think we need more of that. Like you can have these conversations. Like I have, friends that see complete opposite of me, right? They're very much liberal. We can have these conversations, but we're still friends at the end of the day, right? We can agree to disagree. And it's nice to have these healthy debates because then I can come to understand their side of the story, their feeling, they can understand mine. And then at some point you can come to an agreement, right? That meets somewhere in the middle, or maybe it leans one side or the other, but you can understand how that person feels. And you have to have that. If you don't, you start creating, and we're already doing this. We've created enemies, right? The left has vilified the right and the right has vilified the left. And that's not healthy for the country. That's not healthy for everyone involved.
No, we need to have actual debates of.
You have to have conversations.
Like tangible debates of like difference of opinion and difference of thoughts and different perspectives. There's this one story too. So one of the times that I was in the military, I was tasked to be the first sergeant, which is like the HR representative of the Air Force of a unit, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to deal with everyone's problems. And I had this one airman come up to me years ago and they were upset because they were like, I'm getting targeted by my supervisor. And I was like, okay. And I was like, explain to me how you're getting targeted. And like, well, I'm always getting in trouble because at Guard Mount and all this stuff, I'm always getting called out. And I'm like, okay, but what are you doing? And he goes, well, I show up late. I'm like, well, you can't show up late. In the military, we're enshrined. 15 minutes, you're on time, you're late, don't bother showing up. But sometimes you still have to show up even if you're late. But you got to take it on the chin if you get your butt chewed.
As you should.
And all that stuff. But then he threw out, well, I'm getting targeted because I'm black. And I was like, okay. And then he got mad at me because I was listening to him. And he was like, well, you don't understand because you weren't raised like me. You don't know the trouble I went through. And I'm like, you're right. I don't know, but I want to learn. But at the same time, let me ask you a question. How do you think I was raised? How do you think, or where do you think I came from? And he's like, well, look at you. And I'm like, okay, look at me. He goes, you're sitting as the first sergeant in this unit. So you obviously have some privilege. You're white. So you probably grew up in a subdivision. You probably have a silver spoon in your mouth. And it's like, no, I grew up in a broken home. I grew up from 1994 to 2004 when I joined the military. I was basically couch surfing. I was homeless because my dad was a raging alcoholic and I didn't have a structured home, but I chose how to react to what life given me. And it could have been simple for me to go out there and get into the streets, get in drugs, get somebody pregnant in high school and drop out of school. But it was something in me that wanted to prove to society that I'm better than what my conditions set up for me.
I had kind of the same thing growing up too.
Yeah.
Same thing. I grew up in a town, very, very impoverished town, very impoverished county. In fact, the county I grew up in is the poorest county in Oregon, or was at the time. And I had some of my good friends. I remember I'd go over to their house, and they literally had a dirt floor inside of their house.
Oh wow,
that's how poor our county was, right? I remember going to my friend's house, and it was his parents, his mom and dad, and then he had a brother, and they only had one bedroom, which the parents took, and so him and his brother slept on the floor in the living room. So that's where we crashed for the night I'd spent over. And not the living room, but the kitchen was a dirt floor. I specifically remember his mom going in there and brushing or sweeping the floor. And I was like, why?
Sweeping the dirt floor?
Sweeping the dirt floor. But
she took pride.
You'd get the loose dirt and she'd sweep it up.
Yeah.
But same thing. Like it irritates me when you hear about the poverty or the privilege thing, because I grew up, my mom, she's gone now, but she was a raging alcoholic, right? My brothers, we all grew up, we were separate. Like my dad, I had custody of me. My mom had custody of my younger brothers, and we didn't have any privilege.
Yeah.
There wasn't any privilege where I grew up.
Yeah.
You either worked hard or you drove truck your whole life or whatever it was. There wasn't any of that stuff.
And the good thing is when you look back on it, just like listening,
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Listening to how you're saying, and what I just really leaned on was the support group that I grew into.
Yeah.
Like in high school, my best friends, right? Jason, Christy, Zach, and Mike and Ryan, we were thick as thieves in high school, and it was awesome. Couple of us joined the military and we went our separate ways. And there's times that like, I haven't talked to my buddy Jason in years. And then all of a sudden we call each other up and it's like, we never even missed a beat.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And he actually called me a couple of days ago, giving me crap because he retired from the military a year and a half ago, because he joined right out of high school. And I waited a year after that. And so he gave me a bunch of crap about being retired and enjoying the civilian life before me. And I'm sitting here like, now it's my turn. And now I'm excited. And he's like, well, you can't be more successful than me. So Jason, if you're watching this, ball's in your court, buddy. So,
So on the privilege topic, let's talk about this Blue Origin space flight. Okay. So we're talking about privilege, right?
Yeah.
And so here's my thing.
Yeah.
And people are super upset that I was talking to my buddy actually before I came here, and he's like, yeah, I looked it up, and the carbon footprint for what they did was like 300 tons worth of carbon footprint, right? Which is the equivalent to like 66 vehicles for 5 years or something like that. Cool. I don't care. I think it's really cool that we have a future where you and I, or anyone that maybe has 50, 100 grand here in 5-10 years, can go to space. That's really, really cool. What was dumb was the fact that they're calling themselves astronauts.
Yeah.
Saying how revolutionary it was because women went to space. A woman went to space in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to space. You know what constitutes a space? You know where the atmosphere ends?
What's that?
82 miles above the Earth's atmosphere. You know where they went?
Where?
82 miles. They touched it and went back down.
Well, they're only up there for 11 minutes.
Yeah.
And then there's so many like conspiracy theories that one, it was fake. Two, the fact of like Katy Perry kissing the ground and being like, I found love.
Not
and
only
spirit.
her, Oprah's girlfriend did the same
And
thing.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's ridiculous.
It was
And
ridiculous.
It's that shows so much. Like you spent $25 million for 11 minutes in space. And then I don't know if you saw the video, but it's going around the video of when they landed, someone opened the door from the inside.
So I want to get to that. But back to the cost that it costs for them to go up there. They talk about the cost for like, Elon and Trump cutting costs and everything and all this other stuff. And they're spending millions to go up into space.
Yeah.
Come on. You could do something better with that.
Virtue signaling.
That's all it is. But yeah, the whole it being fake thing, I'm not 100% convinced it happened because you look at so when you look at a normal pod coming back from space, right? It is so pressurized that you can't breach it from the inside. You have to breach it from the outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
What had happened when that landed is someone from the inside opened the door first and like, hold on, no, not yet. We're not filming yet. Close the door.
Jeff Bezos
walk up there with their shiny
Yeah.
tool to open it. And then he goes, all right, am I ready? And he walks up and he like doesn't even do anything yet. And it just opens again.
Yeah.
So it was breached from the inside, which doesn't happen normally.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's different because it wasn't up there that long. I don't know. Maybe a different technology, but that's a little weird. The other thing is like it's high impact when it comes down.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't care how many of the parachutes you have or whatever, it's still a high impact. They got out of that thing like they're getting out of a freaking tour bus.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was the ride of my life. Was it? Like there had to be like at least a little traumatic coming back into the atmosphere.
So what's that one Disney ride I heard people say they went on?
Space Mountain?
Space Mountain. They basically just went to Space Mountain and came back down.
That's all it was. I mean, cool as hell. I would love to go do it, but let's take it down a notch. Let's tone that down. Come on.
Yeah, cool. You went into space. You can afford to go in space when you're complaining that everyone can't afford eggs, milk, and gas. But yet everything is dropping, and yet you're going to spend $25 million for 11 minutes.
Right.
You can pay us $25 million for 11 minutes on this podcast. If you're out there and you want to write us a check, we'd be more than happy to send it to us at the Synergy Code on YouTube. Huh?
I'll take $100.
But so speaking of that, because now you're getting me into my feels, and now you're getting me all pumped up and excited.
Yeah. So let's get to this. So you have a new thing.
I have a new thing.
We're calling it What Grinds Your Gears.
What grinds my gears? And it's off of like the episodes of like Family Guy when Peter used to be on news, or I think it was Family Guy where he was like, what grinds my gears? And you used to take something from somebody or something that used to just irritate the crap out of them that just didn't make sense. Well, I want to bring that to this podcast to bring a little humor and kind of get you guys thinking about it. But what grinds my gears this week is simple. Parents, if you drop off your kid in the drop-off lane, listen to me, look at me. When you drop off your kid in the drop-off lane at school, if your kid is not old enough to get out of their car by themselves, don't be in the drop-off lane. Park, then get them out. If your kid is old enough to get themselves out of the car, then go through the drop-off lane. Sometimes as parents, we use the drop-off lane because we have things we have to do. I can't sit there for the Kevin and the Karens of our society to get their kids out of their car in the drop-off lane, go around to the opposite side, get them out, give them a kiss, tell them to have a good day, and then, I'm sorry, little Timmy, you forgot your backpack. Hold on, let me hold up everybody for 15 minutes because you're not in no rush because you are in sweatpants and pajama pants and you're just drinking your soy latte from Starbucks. If you can understand, I'm really kind of irritated because it happened 3 times this week when I dropped off my little girl at school. But that's what grinds my gears.
So this is where we talk about taking care of yourself with the blood pressure and stuff like that.
I tell you what, it's not a joke. Drop-off lane. There are rules and reasons why there are rules and restrictions on drop-off lanes. There's multiple episodes. Look at the Modern Family. They talk about it too. Whew. All right, I'm done.
You feel better?
Yeah.
Cool.
Whew.
I want to take a quick moment to thank each and every one of you for listening to the Synergy Code podcast. If you could, do us a small favor and comment, like, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. As always, we're going to try our best to bring you engaging and entertaining content. So thank you, and let's get back to the episode.
So to help us talk more about investing in your health and taking care of yourself today, we have our guest, Ben Indyke, which is he's a chiropractor here, local chiropractor in the Boise area that owns Bridge Tower Chiropractic.
Yep.
Ben's also a member of our BNI chapter. Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how long you've been a chiropractor and such.
Sure. So I've been a chiropractor for about 10 years. I just purchased Bridge Tower back in September of last year. I've done my own, had my own practice before, and then I've worked under some other doctors, and it's just time to do my own thing again, and it's been a blast.
How you like doing that? How you like doing the chiropractic thing?
Yeah, it's really fun. I really like chiropractic as a whole, just because it's just a great way to help people, and also it's like it touches it gets the body side of things, like it helps physically, but also it can help mentally as well.
What got
help
you into
stress.
wanting to do chiropractic?
Initially, I wanted to be a functional nutritionist.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's cool.
I was at a seminar wanting to do that, and a guy came up to me and said, "Hey, you should become a chiropractor. That way your words actually carry a little bit further." And I was like, okay. And
there's something to that degree, right? Having that degree. Yeah.
Yes,
I've noticed that with a lot of like chiropractors or like masters of kinesiology, stuff like that. There's something to having that degree that carries a lot of weight.
Yeah. The longer your name is, the more letters after, the more people listen to you.
The alphabet soup behind it. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So today we're talking about investing in your health before it's too late. We kind of talked a little bit off air. You kind of equated that to a car, right? We were talking about that, doing the maintenance on your car. What does that mean to you, like investing in your health before that? So like for me, for example, being a massage therapist, I have a lot of people that come in when they're in pain, right? And then I'm sure you're kind of the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
We get those people out of pain by doing whatever treatment, whatever modalities we're doing, and we get them from being in that high pain level to no pain or almost no pain, and then think, oh, I'm good. I'll see you when I see you, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
But we know all too well that those people, they tend to come back 4 months, 6 months, a year later, and they're back in the same pain, right?
Yep.
And they lose the time, the function to do whatever they're doing for that period of time until it's too late and they come back and see you. So what's your thoughts on that?
I see a lot of the same thing. I equate it to the vehicle, like your car, and saying, with a car, we have the mindset, you get your oil changed every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, right? But with our bodies, we only get it checked up or we get it tuned up whenever it's in pain. So if you flip-flop that would be like saying, I only take my vehicle in to get it checked out whenever there's black smoke rolling out of it.
You blow a gasket or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can drive it a little bit further, you can push it, but you're just increasing the risk of catastrophe. And it's the same thing with your body.
For sure. Yeah.
You know how you avoid that?
How's that?
You buy a Tesla.
Oh, yeah?
Therefore, you don't have to maintenance it because all you have to do is put windshield wiper fluid in it. That's a shout out to Elon Cybertruck.
Yeah, and that's why his car is going to blow up at some point because it's maintained.
Yeah, you should still have it checked out.
So one of the things I was looking at was that chronic diseases take up about 75% of our total healthcare, total healthcare budget in the United States, right? And a lot of that is preventable by exercise, nutrition, stuff like what we do, right? Like how many people have you seen that have come to you with say back pain that were on the verge of going to get a surgery?
Oh, countless over the years. Yeah.
Like how many of you actually saved from actually getting that back surgery? A lot, right? Like I'm sure you've even not been in the same industry. You've seen people going to get that disc fusion or that vertebrae fusion or.
Oh, absolutely. A bunch of my military buddies are actually dealing with the healthcare system through our insurance and trying to get that fixed. But the problem is with you guys, with your industries, typically it's not covered by insurance. So if it's not covered, sometimes people feel like it's way expensive to get a massage or get their chiropractor. Like one of my issues that I have hesitation on massage therapy is, well, how often do I have to go in order to fill it? And two, with the chiropractor is, well, I don't know if I need my back popped, right? Because is that what chiropractor is? Because I don't know what chiropractic is. So how do you respond to people with those type of insights or what they think chiropractic is?
So anyone that I meet that just doesn't know what chiropractic is, I just explain that it's about aligning your spine. And again, I compare it to the car. It's like aligning your car, that way it functions at a high level, because if your car is misaligned, then you're going to burn through the tires faster as you drive. Well, if your spine is misaligned over time, then you're going to burn through the discs faster, and you're going to burn through the soft tissue faster, and your body is going to degenerate at a faster rate than normal, which that's what leads to surgeries and, just all of these severe issues. But the thing is, with your car, you can change the tires and it's not a big deal. With your spine, you cannot change the disc out.
Not yet.
Yet.
So
Yes.
why do you think it's a big issue when you look at insurance and health that people don't really take chiropractic as a important issue to look at?
Well,
and with his too, with chiropractic though, like Ben, like a lot of chiropractic you can use insurance. A lot of times insurance doesn't cover stuff like massage, acupuncture, personal training, nutritionists, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, so chiropractic's kind of in the middle. We're doctors, and we can treat issues that are considered medically necessary by insurance. But at the same time, I think chiropractic strives from the wellness perspective, which is not covered by insurance. Now, insurance itself is a business, and we just have to understand that. And businesses, the main objective of business is to make money. So that's why some things are covered, some things aren't. And so with that, getting strong and getting healthy and being your best, that is outside of what is considered medically necessary, because medicine itself is just about, fixing catastrophe. And if you wait until you have a catastrophe, then that's medically necessary and you can get it fixed.
So let's talk about that a little bit too, because what I tell people a lot of time is, back to what me and you do, we do a lot of treatment. We're treating things, right?
Yes.
Not necessarily fixing things. We're treating things. I always think of myself more as a facilitator of health rather than I'm not fixing you. I'm giving you the keys to do it yourself, right?
Exactly.
What I tell people a lot of times, there's a lot of things you can do. That whole self-care thing doesn't mean you actually need to necessarily spend money, right? We have other resources. What's a good resource? Time. Right? Time is a resource. You can take time to do those things that don't have a cost to it, such as going for a walk. A lot of times I'll have someone that comes to me that has back pain. And I was like, hey, if you go for a walk 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, that's going to take care of a lot of your stuff. You don't have to come see me or someone like you as often if you put in this homework. Or if you go to the gym and you strength train or resistance train and you build the stronger structure, the stronger tissue around the structure, you don't have as many issues, right?
Yep.
So there's also things like that you can do. It doesn't have to be a monetary cost. There's a cost associated with it. It doesn't have to be monetary. It can be time, right? It can be time. It can be energy. There's going to be some sort of cost, but you have to apply that cost now, because if you don't, you're going to apply it down the road and it's going to be tenfold.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Like I was saying, once you have an issue, which degeneration of the spine, like for example, what I see a lot as far as catastrophe, when the spine degenerates, it takes 15, 20, 30 years to get there.
Yeah.
Like we were talking this morning.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Yep. We were talking this morning about, someone bends over to tie their shoe and all of a sudden, boom, their back cracks. They've got symptoms shooting down their leg. They blew a disc. And it's like, all I did was bend down to tie my shoe. And it's like, well, what about everything that you did or didn't do 30 years before?
And they blame it on I bent over. That's what did it.
Yep.
That's not what did it. That was the catalyst that put it over the edge.
They're fixing the blame, not the problem.
Straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is where just the smallest investments, whether it's like you say, stretching, walking, exercising, even your thoughts play into it. Because if you're thinking stressful thoughts, your body responds and it tightens up. So it's literally everything.
I always tell people, I said, if people actually listened to me and did the things they had to do in order to stay healthy, moving better, right? Going for the walks, getting your steps in. There's a lot of good research that correlates 7,000 steps or more all the way up to like 15,000. It kind of starts to plateau at that point, but 7,000 steps and more that is directly associated and correlated to all-cause mortality, meaning all things death related. If you got more steps, you'd be generally healthier by doing so. There's that. There is drinking more water, right? There is eating a close to whole food diet, a nutrient dense diet, doing those things, getting 8 hours of sleep or more a night, which is huge.
Sometimes we can't help how much time we can sleep.
All of that is directly associated with all-cause mortality. And I tell people all the time, if people actually listened to me and did what I suggested they would do, like Ben and I would be out of a job.
Yeah.
Like our career would be null and void because people would take care of themselves.
So what would be one thing that you'd want people to know about chiropractic?
That's a great question. Just that I would say not all chiropractors are the same. I meet a lot of people who have said, "Oh, well, I've had a bad experience with chiropractor." And I get it. There's a lot of variance within my field. And I say, don't let that totally perturb you from the profession as a whole, because it's so important. That would be like saying, yeah, I took my car to Valvoline and they messed up my oil change, so I'm just never going to change my oil again. It just doesn't make sense, right? So with that, just, I get it. Don't see that person again. Just find someone that is going to fit your style and, listen to you, give you what you need, whether that's in and out, whether that's talk to you for a few minutes, whether it's snap, crackle, we're done, whether it's 30 minutes in an appointment. They all exist.
Yes.
Just keep looking and find the person, because once you find that person that's going to be able to help you, then you're really going to start getting the full benefit of chiropractic. And this is the same with all healthcare fields.
Well, one thing I learned early on is there is not every body, meaning your physical body, not every body is for everybody, but there is a body for everybody, right? Meaning you meet a client or he meets a client, that person might not like Ben, might not like me, might not like how we operate, but there are people that will. And there is a person for that person that didn't like us, right? There is someone to help you along. You just got to find the right person. And sometimes it's trial and error, right? What I see a lot of times is, have you ever heard of the recovery cycle of recovery?
Yes.
Do you know what that is?
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay. So cycle of recovery is basically do a thing, get injured, get treatment, feel better, stop treatment, do the thing, get injured, right? And the reason that repeats is because they stopped doing the thing that got them healthier without making any sort of lifestyle changes, right? So if going back to the person that bent over, if they've got a bad lower back, their hips are bad, some sort of tissue is bad, some sort of alignment may be bad, something happened, not necessarily an injury. There might be something to that they never adjust, right? So they go to someone like us. We facilitate their healing. We get them feeling better. They feel better, but they've only felt better because we did stuff. They didn't do anything to correct them. So they quit coming to see us. And now all of a sudden, they're still doing the thing they did that led them to that injury in the first place. So what happens? They repeat the cycle. And we see that a lot.
Yeah. I tell people, you see me, if you're coming in once a week, you see me for 10 minutes a week. I'm not going to do the math of how much more time there is. It's such a small amount. And I'm really getting in there and doing great work, but you got to stay on it too. I'm fighting the ocean if I'm the only change that you're making. So
what would be the one change, if you guys can make an implement change to your guys' industry to get people to truly invest in their health now instead of later? Was the one change or one thing that you guys want out there?
I would say better education as a whole. We need to flip the mindset from, okay, I'm in pain, I should go get looked at now, to the power of prevention. Wellness does best from a preventative standpoint, but we look at that as, extra versus making that the standard and then having the emergency care available as needed, but significantly less because people are investing in themselves in the first place to significantly decrease the risk of serious injury or emergency in the first place.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really good place to end this week's episode. And so what I want to do is challenge the audience this week to do one thing for themselves that they haven't before. I want you to invest in your health. And that can be go for that 10-minute walk a day, get those 8 hours of sleep, or go see someone like Ben and I. Invest in your health now so you don't have to tenfold in the future. Thank you for listening to the Synergy Code podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe and follow us on all platforms. To stay up to date with all things Synergy Code, follow us at the Synergy Code Pod on social media. Also, thanks to our main sponsors, Top Tier Massage Therapy and Performance Recovery, MEI Coaching, ProX Productions, and the Digital Unicorn.